Hey guys, Lizardlea here for more Tiny Stockings teddy bear. So that is going to be focus, focus. Okay, well, it's this guy. He's got all the lights on him. So, oh, there we go. He's so cute. So, I'm gonna go work on that. I think I have 3 or 4 more patterns left. I'm almost done, so getting there. Okay, so I have my handsome man here.
Hello.
I finally got him back over here.
Get over here.
Get over here.
So
We
you
just
did it
watched the
better.
trailer for the new Mortal Kombat movie, and their voice for Scorpion was just embarrassing, honestly. It sounded like me imitating Scorpion, and that's just not good.
Yep.
Just he's in a mask. He has a mask on. It doesn't need to be the guy who's acting the part doing the voice. You get the original voice. It's Scorpion. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so we have 3 shows we finished recently. I only remembered 2 the other day.
Mm-hmm.
So we have The Mandalorian Season 2. We have... I can't think because typing is loud. Disenchantment was the one David remembered. And the other one.
Fairy Tale.
Fairy Tale. What would you like to begin with, Handsome?
We want to do it in order. We just finished Fairy Tale first, then Disenchantment, then Mandalorian.
Sure. What would you like to say about Fairy Tale?
God, that was long.
It wasn't the longest. Like,
No.
the thing that I was telling Holka was that, like, if you tweaked several things on the show, but if you just tweaked them, like, didn't have to change them entirely, just tweaked them, it would have gone from a C grade to an A. Because that's what I have. I would rate it a C. Like, I think it's worth watching,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to rewatch it.
I might give it a C minus. Like, I would never recommend it to anyone straight up, like, oh, you need to watch this. But I'd never say, like, yeah, don't watch it. I'd be like, look, if in the first 10 episodes you're not feeling it, it will get better, but not much better.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, so it's a shonen, so it's supposed to be about, like, fighting and stuff. And no real fights stood out for me. Like, there were so many that I was naming for Brotherhood.
Yeah.
There were a lot for Yu Yu Hakusho that I liked. Like, there's so many anime where I'm like, yes, the fight. Naruto. But, like, my favorite fight in Fairy Tale isn't actually a fight. It was Kanna's card fight with Scorpio. It's not really a fight. It's a card game.
It's also filler.
It is filler. It was really good filler, though. I will give them that. When Fairy Tail does filler, I didn't think it was filler, so... Or, well, when they do more than one episode of filler. When it's a single episode, you can tell it's filler. But when it's multiples, it feels like it belongs with the show perfectly.
Yeah, and I mean... The show is weird because it's a shonen that doesn't care too much about its fights. Or rather, it does, but it doesn't do anything interesting with them. There's no... It's not Hunter x Hunter where you've got, like, lots of cool techniques being used weird. It's not DBZ where, like, oh my god, he's been learning this move for 30 episodes.
Honestly, thank God for that.
Yeah, but even still, like, at least that had moments where, like, oh yeah, it's the move we've been waiting to see since he learned it at blah. They don't do that. And to some extent, that's good, because it means you don't have training arcs. No one goes off into a cave for 30 episodes and just disappears.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they do, they go with, like, 4 other people. But at the same time, it's kind of mostly about the characters, and the characters are okay. Like, they all are actually interesting characters, they just don't really ever grow or do much with them. Like, every single character has a nice concept, and that's why it's the most fun to see them interact with other characters, because they're all such interesting characters, and that they're kind of wacky and silly. It's, like, again, not very adult at all. Oh, it has gratuitous amounts of fan service on every other scene, so, like, if that bothers you, no.
For men and women.
Mostly men, but yes.
I mean, Gray takes his clothes off constantly.
Yes, he does. It is part of his character. But it just doesn't do anything with what it's got. And, like, as you said, like, there are so many scenes or arcs or moments where you're like, wow, if they just done this, and it's like,
it would have been perfect.
yeah, it would be like legitimately good, but instead they just didn't, and it's not necessarily bad, but I think the times that I zoned out the most were the fight scenes, like 9 times out of 10, because they're just kind of like, yeah, we know they're gonna punch the other guy harder and it's gonna work this time, and then they'll win. Like,
oh, Natsu or Erza is in the fight. Yeah. I know who's going to win.
Yeah, exactly. And while it's got great moments where it like leans into that, or it has fun with the kind of ridiculousness it's doing, it's also just got a lot of like, well, why did you bother to do this? So like, yeah, the tournament arc was good. The last 2 arcs were good. The rest were okay. Some were bad. Some were objectively bad. But I don't regret watching it. But yeah, I would never like, oh, you've got to see Fairy Tail. I'd just be like, oh, you want to kill a lot of time? You might want to try Fairy Tail.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because like it definitely has some really cool stuff, even if it's like, it knows what it's going for, you know? Like, it's not trying to pretend it's something it's not at the same time. It's very much, friends and teammates and boobs. Like, that's what we're about. But, and to its credit, the fan service is generally visual in that, like, yes, the girls naturally have, like, ripped clothing after a fight or posed in certain ways, but, like, at the very least, it's not usually part of the plot. Where, like, they have to, like, come up with excuses to, like, there's a lot of shows in anime that'll do that, where, like, oh, well, we're going to a hot spring, or, oh, we're, you know, or, oh, yeah, like, my power is I take off my shirt, or what.
And I become stronger.
Yeah. The one character who does that is a guy, so.
And I support Gray taking off his clothes.
Yes, dude. It doesn't get in the way of anything. It's really still very gratuitous. It's ridiculous. But at the same time, it doesn't get in the way of anything, so at least it's not doing that. I don't know. And again, the other thing that I point out is, like, it's got a very large cast, and it does an okay job with it. Not a good job, but an okay job, which is better than some shows, like the last half of Naruto, where it's just like, what, there's other characters? No,
there's Naruto and Sasuke?
This is a 2-man show. What are you talking about?
That's definitely how that show ended.
Or, you know, later DBZ, where it's like, well, yeah, there's people on screen, but we'll just tune in when Goku gets here.
Yeah, exactly. No, okay, so, in my opinion, the idea of it was awesome. And the different magics that people had were so cool. Like Lucy being able to summon characters using keys. Kana being able to use power with freaking her cards. They had so many awesome powers. But it almost always came down to, Natsu makes fire and eats fire. And Erza can change her clothes and change her weapons. And those two they became the least interesting. Like, I mean, the fire on its own is, I never found that interesting. Yes, he can eat fire. That's cool. That's new.
But they don't use it very much, you know? Yeah.
Well, and when they do, it's just like, oh, he's tired. Oh, the enemy has fire powers. I've got a fire in my belly. And then he wins.
Yeah.
And Erza's, I loved her. The first time I watched it, I was like, that is so cool. You've got a badass female character. Like, she's legitimately one of the strongest in the guild. I love it. And her power's really interesting. She can change her clothes. She can change her weapon. And so in the middle of a fight, you know, like, if she suddenly learns that they use fire, she can change into her, like, fire emblem or whatever the heck. Fire Empress. Something like that.
Yeah.
Do you have sound? What are you doing, sir?
It's cute cat.
And so then, you know, she has an advantage over them. And so it was really cool. But then eventually, it just came down to, like, yes, she has her main 3. And her boobs are gigantic in them.
Yep.
And
which is weird, because her default outfit is actually fairly reasonable.
Oh, yeah, it's one of the most tasteful.
Yeah.
She wears armor. It was awesome. But, and, like, her one of her strongest ones, well, I think legitimately her strongest one, the one she used to beat Minerva. Which
is weird, because that's not by far the strongest person she fought.
True, but, I mean, that was the first time she used that armor.
I think it's she only used it once after that, didn't she?
Yeah, she only used it the 2 times, but I don't remember who else she used it on.
It was some throwaway of the 12. It was like the sand guy.
I mean, he's still one of the 12. But, like, it was so low on her chest that I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
well, no, it was it was that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should have been able to see things you couldn't see.
Yeah, it was really
It
weird.
was real. I didn't like it.
Like, it was like someone who doesn't know anatomy designed this.
Yeah, boobs don't work that way, actually.
Yeah.
But,
And I mean, it's in a show where you're already technically supposed to say that, and even then, like, having signed up for that and gotten through several hundred episodes of that, it's the sort of thing where you're like, no, they don't work that way.
Yeah.
Like, even though you know what you're dealing with, that's egregious.
But that's the thing, like, all the characters that had the coolest powers, they weren't focused on the way that Natsu and Erza were. Or Gray, even. He was often...
They don't. They have a lot of cool
it
ideas.
was disappointing.
And every now and then they actually use them. Like, there's a really cool scene where Urza's, like, constantly changing her armor in the middle of a fight that leads to some really cool stuff.
That was cool, yes.
But yeah, they only do it once. And it's like, but that's what it should always be. That's the cool part. Like, even if you're not going to make it strategic and, I'll have to use this to counter that level of stuff, just do that more. Rather than, I made a speech and I punched a guy. Like, okay, great. Yep, there we go.
Yeah. I will say, though, like, Happy, the blue cat, was totally my favorite character. I absolutely adore him. I cried over him a lot. And after him, my favorite character is Gildarts, which is the strongest member in the guild. And he has one of the coolest powers, where when he touches something, it literally just gets turned to cubes. Like, I love it. And...
He doesn't really need to touch them, does he? Yeah,
well, it's his power. Like, when his magic touches them, it turns everything into cubes. Spoiler territory now. The first time you see him use his magic on a human, you expect them to die. You're like, yeah, they're gonna just turn into cubes, like in the horror movie Cube, and it's gonna be scary, and they're gonna die. But no, it just splits the person into, like, 100... Really? Really,
Whoops,
handsome?
I love you, dear.
Really?
I love you, dear.
Really? It turns them into 100 little teeny tiny mini of the person. And it's just, you're just like, okay. Like, that's how you get around him not killing people. He just takes them out of the fight.
Yeah. And it was, again, that was kind of creative, kind of fun, kind of neat. And then, you don't see a lot of him because it makes sense, because having him around would ruin everything.
Because he would win every single fight.
Which is why it's weird that they have Erza, who... They never really peg that she's supposed to be that, but she clearly is that.
Yeah.
And therefore, there's a lot of scenes where you're like, well, why isn't Erza just solving this? Because my understanding of the situation is she should be able to, but she can't right now. Ah, there it goes. Like, it's...
Yep.
And they definitely repeat the plot structure. Like, oh no, there's a problem. Oh no, something's blasting a big laser. Oh yay, someone blocked the big laser. Okay, we're now all going to pair off with enemies and have cool fights have fights with them. How cool will depend on the arc.
Yeah.
And so, it's still got a lot of fun moments. Like, it's not high art at all. It's nowhere near it, but it's fun watching, like, some of the dumber stuff happen, like the whole Juvia thing.
Juvia was great.
She has some of the best moments, because, again, it's them leaning into what they do well, which is just this dumb sort of humor.
Yeah, honestly, that's what I was going to say, is my favorite part of the show was when they were being funny. Not when they were having fights, when they were being funny.
Yeah. It would honestly be a better show if it either took itself more or less seriously. Where
Yeah.
it was just like,
it was writing that line, and it just,
It almost feels like it was a homework assignment for somebody, and they were doing it, and every now and then they enjoyed it, but for the most part, they're just like, can I go play now?
Oh, do you need to get that?
Nah, not at the moment.
You sure?
I can, if you want.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
We'll be back, you guys. Fun. Alright, and we are back.
They
Yeah,
didn't notice we left.
What?
The people on the internet.
Yes, I know. But still.
Or are you gonna, like, edit in 20 seconds of silence?
You know that we're back.
So it'll seem like it was a short period?
No.
It wasn't? No? Okay.
No. So, yeah, honestly, I think the only bad guys that stood out for me that were memorable were some of the 12 at the very end. Like, Minerva was evil for a little while. Yeah.
Well, it's weird, because she could have been interested. Like, one of the things they never, now that you mention it, that they have such a problem and they don't do right is they bring up, so, like, okay, they'll have a moment where they've clearly decided, oh, we want this character to matter or to be good. And so they'll dump a bunch of backstory right then and there about the character. And it's like, yeah, this would have been interesting and earned if you'd done it when it, like, should have come up. But you're clearly doing it now just to make them, you know, just so you can...
Sympathetic?
Yeah, or so you can make them a good guy. And it's not awful. It's just like, I wish you had actually thought this far ahead when you were writing this originally. Because then it would have, like, really flowed well and made some sense. Instead, it's very clear that you're just like, oh, I thought of this later and it's a cool twist. Like... Just so much they could have done better.
Yep, I agree. Who was your favorite character, honey?
Juvia was fun, if stupid. Gray is probably the most interesting character because he's well developed, but he's not magically bulletproof.
Ice Shell.
Yeah, Ice
All
makes
day,
I called it and he did it twice. He tried. He got there. Liz didn't like my opinions on that matter. But
Literally
she's
every
wrong.
single fight he was in, David was like, iced shell. And I was like, honey, that will kill him. And David was just like, iced shell.
Yes.
Or he'd say, ice make ice.
Yes.
And I was like, really? He's going to make
I
everyone's drinks
really
cold?
wanted him to do ice make ice. He's an ice wizard who can make things with ice, and I wanted him to make ice with ice.
Everything he made was ice.
And this would have been icier.
Oh my god, you're so weird.
I'm not weird, you're
Yes,
weird.
you are. You're weird. All right. Do we want to move on to the next show? Do we have anything else to discuss with Fairy Tail?
No, I think we can jump to Disenchantment.
Was it Disenchantment or Disenchanted?
I thought it was Disenchantment.
I don't remember.
It's Disenchantment.
Enchantment, okay.
I know what I'm talking about.
Bean is great. She's a very fun character.
Yes.
But Lucy's still my favorite character. Even after all these episodes, Lucy is still number one.
Yeah. And for anyone who doesn't know, this is the third season of the show that's written by the guy who did The Simpsons and Futurama.
It's on Netflix.
Yep.
It's really funny. I think it's totally worth watching.
No, I recommend it. It's funny. I don't think it's as funny or as deep as both Futurama and Simpsons can be, depending on what you're looking at. But it's just good. Like, it's nice, it's solid, it's still humorous, and it's kind of neat to see Matt Groening take a stab, or his writing team, or whatever, at a more structured story, rather than, like, there's still the problem of the day, especially in the early episodes, but it's got a really, the whole point is, like, the overarching plot, whereas Simpsons does not have one, and Futurama has one threading through it that they touch on when they feel like, which was interesting. This is them doing, no, there's a plot, there's a world, it's a Matt Groening, I don't know, Game of Thrones. Probably not that, but,
there are unicorns, there aren't dragons.
yeah, it's a fantasy world, and it's fun to watch them just
or was
have...
there a dragon? I don't remember.
There was a dragon thing.
Yeah.
It was a mechanical dragon.
Yeah.
Have we seen a real dragon? I don't think so. I don't recall you squealing.
Remember. I don't know. I mean, season 1 was a while ago, it feels like. I don't know. They're demons. Like, Lucy's great.
I'm glad you feel that way. I have this shoe on here twice. Okay. So, yeah, I just, No, I really like watching them go through all the different little fantasy tropes and taking their own stab at it. Like, if you've ever watched, Simpsons or Futurama, you know the kind of humor they do. And one of the things I like about it is it's their better humor, where it's not new Simpsons, it's thought through.
The clever humor.
Yeah, you can tell someone sat down and spent some time writing this joke so they could kind of do back-to-back jokes really quickly, rather than like, here's a gag, set it up, okay, the gag's over, next gag. It has those too, but it's not just all that. And the characters are actually interesting. I care about the world and what's going on. I'm kind of curious about the mystery, although they're getting a little repetitive with things, namely a certain character's mother.
Yeah, that's exactly who I was thinking of as well.
And although I really like that character and everything around them,
it's the same thing every single time we meet her.
Yeah, they need to start resolving some of it. Like, if you're going to go a different direction with it, that's fine. If you're only going to resolve some of it, that's fine. But, a reveal. No, wait, never mind. Back to status quo is getting a little old. Now, granted, they've been doing it for literally 2 seasons. So, it's not like this is 400 episodes of this junk. Like, say, I don't know, Fairy Tale.
You said it, not me.
But no, it's good. I definitely like it.
I'm excited for the next season.
Yeah, I am too. Like, I have no serious desire to like get to it right now, but I'll definitely watch it when it comes out. I again, like, it's a nice mixture of comedy and solid plot writing to where, like, yeah, I kind of care about what's going on in this world. I want to see where they're going. I want to see what's going to happen. Let's find out why, you know, such and such did such and such with things and whatnot. I'm being vague because, like,
yes, you are.
Going into the plot doesn't really add anything. Like, it's not so great that it's like, yeah, we've got to discuss the cool twists that they did, which they have done. And I kind of like how this season especially bookends the opening, in a sense. Like, the big twist at the very, very, very end. No. Involving your favorite character and where they wind up.
Where do they wind up? Oh! Yeah. Is that how it opened?
No, it opened with someone else there.
Wasn't that season 2?
That was... Yes.
I thought you said the show opened.
Well, okay, season 2 was all about that, and so season 3 then ends with, yeah, you get the point.
Okay, so yeah, season 3 continued where season 2 was.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were talking about season 1, and I was like, I don't remember that. This is going to sound so weird to you guys if you haven't seen the show.
It's going to sound weird even if they have.
Well, then they might get an idea of what we're discussing.
Yeah, no, I know. But yeah, no, like, I'd strongly recommend it. It's not super long. It's easy to put on and watch, and it's not a huge commitment, and it's not gross, horrifying, or, you know, it's...
I mean, I wouldn't say it's child-friendly, because Bean does drink a lot.
Oh, that's like the lowest on the totem pole of why it's not child-friendly. No, it is definitely a Simpsons-style production, and it's a little more...
Heaven and hell are places that exist.
Yeah, no, I meant some of the grosser stuff and like the torture and a few other things.
And the guy with the touchy
and some of the violence and whatnot. Yeah, no, it's definitely not a child's show. But given that most stuff we watch isn't really even an adult show, they're just horrifying, it's way better, so...
I mean, I like Made in Abyss more than Disenchantment personally, but
yeah, but it's horrifying.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely horrifying.
Yeah, it's soul breaking.
It is. And yet I want more.
Good job, dear.
So bad.
So
anything else with Disenchantment? Obviously, we're not going into spoiler territory, so.
I don't think so. Oh, it's got the guy from IT Crowd on it, so you're gonna have to.
I haven't seen IT Crowd.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to make you watch that next, I think. So maybe we'll watch an episode of that tonight.
I don't know anything about it.
It's fun.
Other than you have sometimes mentioned IT
There's
Crowd.
like 7 episodes, so it's not even a huge commitment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like Burn Notice.
No.
Okay.
What?
I'm sorry, I watched like 3 episodes and I didn't enjoy anything.
It gets better, and I have a deal where I'm gonna pick like maybe 2 episodes from later on that I think are really good, and try to get her to watch those at some point. And if she doesn't like those, because it's not like you need context for that show, it's really not that deep. I'm gonna give up.
I read the synopsis for each season, and I was like, meh.
Yeah, no, that's not what anyone cares about. I promise. No one cares about the overarching plot. It's not what you watch. This isn't, again, it's like Game of Thrones or something where like, oh yeah, it's got a really cool, or The Expanse or whatever. No, you watch it to watch one guy MacGyver solutions while frickin' the actor you like.
Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, Bruce Campbell gives him snippy comebacks. So, it's good.
So you say.
You're wrong!
Do we want to move on to The Mandalorian Season 2?
That will probably have spoilers, so starting at the beginning, if you even remotely like Star Wars, watch The Mandalorian. If you haven't already, if you do remotely like Star Wars and you haven't, then yeah, you're probably already watching it.
So I am not a huge fan of Star Wars. I have seen the original 3, so episode 4, 5, and 6, and I've seen the prequels, so episodes 1, 2, and 3. And I've seen episodes 7 and episode 8, I believe, and that's it. And
have you not seen Rogue One? Have I not done that to you?
I don't remember.
I don't think you have. How have I not done that?
I don't know. Like, the last one I remember was when she drove the ship into the...
Yeah, that's
I've seen that one. And I had absolutely zero... I had negative interest in seeing the Han Solo movie. So...
As did I, to be fair.
What?
As did I.
Yeah. Like, and from what I understand, like, most people hated it. So I'm like, yeah, sometimes I know what I'm doing. But, the original 6... I liked them. Like, I don't hate the prequels like so many other people do. Like, my generation just always craps on them. And personally, I do think episodes 4, 5, and 6 are better.
Yeah.
But I don't dislike the prequels. Like, I enjoy Jar Jar Binks, alright? I said it. Send me hate. I don't care. He made me laugh.
They're gonna send the hit squads now.
No, they're not.
The government's gonna have to find us and purge us.
No. I'm not the only person who has laughed at Jar Jar Binks, okay? Whatever. And I thought the Ewoks were so cute, so I enjoyed episode 6. They were so cute.
This is why we can't have nice things.
They were so cute. I remembered their name, you guys.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Okay, you don't think the Ewoks are cute, though? Like, ignoring everything else. If you just
I
saw
could
an
spend
Ewok, you would
an
think they
entire
were, like, ugly?
episode talking about things nobody cares about and why the Ewoks are the start of everything that's wrong with Star Wars. You don't want to go there, I promise.
So cute. Anyways,
they were
okay,
supposed to be Wookiees.
So, David has read, like, the books and, like, the expanded Star Wars universe.
Not a ton, but a lot.
Not a lot. Yeah, whatever. But you've read them, and you enjoy them, and you are a genuine fan.
Yes.
Okay? I don't give a crap. And I still really enjoyed The Mandalorian. I enjoyed Season 1, and I enjoyed Season 2.
Yeah, it's just well written.
It really is. Like, so one of the things I was telling David when we just finished it the other day was I don't recall there being a lot of humor in the movies. That's just me personally. Like, I remember giggling at Jar Jar Binks, and that's like it. Like, as a kid, I didn't laugh at Yoda picking on Luke Skywalker because I thought it was just mean. As an adult, I'm sure I'd think it's funny. But as a kid, I was like, why is he being so mean? You know, as a kid, it's whatever.
There's some banter between Anakin and Obi-Wan in the prequels.
See, and I don't remember that.
Those are some of the best lines. Like, you want to buy some death sticks? You want to go home and rethink your life? I want to go home and rethink. We'll watch them all later.
Well, yeah. One day I do want to rewatch all of them. Like, I remember. These are not the droids you're looking for. But that wasn't, like...
funny, no.
I mean, it kind of was, because the guy's just like, these aren't the droids I'm looking for, and he turns and walks away. Like, it's great. But it's not really set up to be a funny scene.
No, it's not.
But, The Mandalorian has a lot of funny scenes. I laughed a lot. So I just found it to be, personally, more enjoyable than the movies. Yeah. Because I love comedy.
Well, it's also... it makes the world feel real when you do humor right. Like, this is my big argument with why Marvel is, like, printing money and DC can't even get their foot in the door, because all the DC movies, it's not about being dark. You can still be dark and serious, but that doesn't mean you have to completely remove humor. There are things where you should do that, but when you're dealing with people who are, like, you know, putting on robot suits and, you know, wearing pajamas and throwing metal at everyone's head and flying through the air in, like, leotards, it helps to kind of lampshade what you're doing with a little bit of humor. And it also makes them feel like real people. Like, yes, this guy could bench press a bus, but he also still doesn't like the way that, you know, Batman dresses or something stupid like that, you know? And so Mandalorian is just very, very well written. It understands being quiet. It doesn't... when I heard they were going to do this, I was really, really concerned that what they were going to do is be like, oh, well, we have a really quiet main character, and we have to have someone talking because the audience is too stupid to follow anything, we believe. So we'll have a really loud and obnoxious sidekick. That is something you see a lot as kind of a trope. And they didn't do that.
No, they did not.
Most of his sidekicks, most of the people he interacts with do talk more than him, but several of them are pretty stoic and quiet characters as well.
Yep.
And it works really well because of that. Because it lets the world building work. It lets the plot kind of fester. It is very much a Western. Like, if you like Westerns, watch it. It's a modern Western, just set in space. He's out in some little backwater area of the world, in Western terms, dealing with, like, problems that the law is not really there to handle, and, like, you know, local sheriffs and literally a marshal or two and things like that. And so, yeah, it's great.
And he stumbles upon a baby Yoda that he has to take care of.
Yes, he does. And it's also about a single dad and a gig economy, as the joke goes.
Okay, honestly, though, like, Baby Yoda is one of the cutest things ever. And the puppeteering, the work they did on him is so good. Yeah. Like, his ears flap in the wind.
I don't know if this is true. Oh, well, I know it's an animatronic puppet. Like, it is not CG at all, to my understanding, which is great. Excellent choice. More of that needs to be done. And that's part of why it's so good, because they very rarely use CG. They have really great sets and really great props. Like, crazy Star Wars toys that only nerds like me even know existed are now in full, like, life-size, you know, frickin' tanks and whatnot. But Baby Yoda is, I believe, a $5 million animatronic puppet.
Wow, yeah. I believe it. I mean, he moves. His fingers move. He can grasp things. Yeah. Like, yeah, I believe it.
There's a lot going on with that thing. And I'm glad they did that, because it really is important that they did, given how much he's in the show and how poorly CG would have looked with that. Like, we've had CG stuff forever, and it's still, you know... Or let me put it this way. In order to do CG right, it takes so much effort, they might as well have spent the money on one $5 million puppet than multiple $5 million scenes, because trying to do it quick and dirty just looks all sorts of awful. And in a weird way, I actually think it probably does the show a favor that they can't make Baby Yoda, you know, backflip or do, you know, whatever popular dance there is. Because, yeah, it's a puppet. It does puppet things. And I
mean, the Yoda from episodes 4, 5, and 6 blew my mind. Like, I as a kid, I didn't really get that it was a puppet. I just thought it was there. It was awesome. He was doing things. You know, he was piggyback riding on Luke Skywalker. It was awesome. And then when he started doing backflips in episodes, 2 and 3, it looked so fake. I was just like, really? I am a huge fan of puppets. Like, freaking the Labyrinth. The puppets in that movie. I love it. And I personally, I feel like most actors, they act better when there's something that's actually there. Yes. Having something on a tennis ball and pretending that it's there isn't going to get the best acting out of you, compared to seeing a little tiny baby Yoda trying to eat something he's not supposed to.
So one of the things that I thought was a really good and clever point when Guardians of the Galaxy came out was, as you know, Batista did a really good job acting in that movie, which, like, if you happen to have followed the movie careers of various WWE stars, that's not a given. So good. I was really surprised when he did well, and the way I saw it summed up on the internet was someone saying, like, yeah, he's sitting there emoting to a raccoon, or he's having a touching moment with a raccoon that isn't there on what's likely a green screen and a tennis ball. Like, this guy actually knows how to act. This is legit. Yeah. Like, I was like, yeah, that's a really good point. But yes, I do prefer it when they have props and puppets and stuff, just for all sorts of reasons. And again, it's a very professional production. It doesn't feel like they're just milking the name. It doesn't feel like they're just cashing in. Like, well, yeah, we could do it with puppets, but let's just CG it. People will watch it anyways. It's Star Wars. Like, someone who cares about the material did this. Like, as a nerd with, like, some Star Wars books on his bookshelves over there about Boba Fett, this is glorious. There's so many cool characters and ideas that were in the expanded universe, if you're one of those, that they never adopted, which was a shame, because it was generally good writing, or at least some good ideas surrounded by not so good writing. And it would have been really smart
If you guys can hear it, he's making popcorn in the background. Continue.
Yes, it would have been really smart to crib notes from that, and that's what he's doing. And it's really good! Not all of it's perfect. There's some things I'm still concerned about, but, like, as far as, like, turn this on, watch 12 episodes, or, 8 episodes a year? Yeah, this is, I'm all for this.
Yeah, I've been enjoying The Mandalorian significantly more than any of the movies. Like, that's just me personally. I do not speak for everyone. I'm just saying, like, even if you are not a big Star Wars fan, I think there's still going to be enjoyable elements in The Mandalorian.
I think there's maybe 1 or 2 movies I'd put above it. And that's
Ooh, which ones? 4 and 5?
No.
No, 5 and 6. No, it's not going to be 6. There's no way you're going to pick 6.
No, there's no way I'm going to pick 6.
4 and 5, neither of those two?
Just 5.
Okay,
5 and
at least I got one of them. 5 and what?
Rogue One.
Oh, okay, I don't know that one.
Rogue One is technically between 3 and 4.
Okay, I don't.
Yeah, you need to see that movie. I don't know how I haven't done that because I feel that...
Maybe you have and I just don't remember.
No, I doubt that. Very much like... What's cool about Star Wars is the world. The characters are so-so. The entire concept, when you think about it, is so-so, or at least nothing special. But they did a really good job of creating this very believable kind of space western world. Because they made believable alien designs, or if not believable, at least unique and clever, and they used real props, and they did all that. And that's why people like me don't really love the prequels or 6, because it gets into this, like, oh, we're trying to market, or oh, we're trying to, like, you know... Like, there's no fine way to put a point on, like, okay, we have the Japanese samurai trade fish and the, you know, Middle Eastern trader Watto, and, like, this is no longer... And the 50s diner alien, like, this is no longer like, oh, wow, that's kind of weird. Like, it's similar, but yeah, like, it's an alien canteen or what. Like, no, these are clearly stereotypes. And that can be a whole other conversation, but just from a creativity standpoint, it's not as interesting. And this gets back to that, where, like, it feels like a world with characters and Bill Burr.
Bill. Okay.
He's the one who now means there's Space Boston. Because he's a boss. Never mind. It's
okay.
a long...
Right over.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. So it's really, really well made. I know I've, like, said it 1,000 times. I could point out complaints I have, but, like, it's also just done a good job of having, like, an ensemble cast. Like, there's a lot of characters that they meet. Usually each episode he's meeting someone new or interesting. And either they're a call out to, like, some of the expanded universe stuff that people like me have been dying to see done right on the screen, and they do. Like that droid in the very first episode that shoots all the things.
Oh, he was so cool!
Yeah, he was! And that's the first time he's ever been cool on anything that's not a book. And it was great! So, that is kind of my point where, like, it's been frustrating being a Star Wars fan, even though I'm not nearly as much as many people. I'm still a fan. Because, yeah, to someone like Liz, it's like, well, why do you like this? This is kind of dumb, or it's only okay, or whatever. But you've been, like, reading books and seeing things and playing games, and you're like, but it could be so cool. And it was so nice to finally see someone showing that off right, rather than just like, well, we'll CG it in.
Yeah. And no spoilers, so that's it.
And that is the end of more Tiny Stockings Teddy Bear. I got 4 hours and 14 minutes of footage. So he took me a while. It took me a long while. He's so cute though. Look at him. Look at that. He's got his lights. So cute. So the pattern. Yes. The pattern wanted the outline on the white parts of his hat to be in yellow. And I was like, ew, like yellow snow? That's terrible. And I looked at the finished pattern on the cover, and it was blue there. So I was like, I'm going to go with that. Because yellow, no.
Yellow.
No. Yellow, no.
Yellow.
And, oh, I also gave him a smile. Because in the original, it was just tiny straight line, like literally one stitch. And I was like, that's just sad. So I gave him the lines on the side to make him smiling, because it's cute. It's 9 o'clock, so I'm tired.
Weird.
No. Okay, I finished Dresden.
Yeah.
I want the next book already.
No.
I'm dying.
No.
So yeah, if you guys haven't read The Harry Dresden Files by Jim Butcher, you should get on that, because...
Yeah.
How many books is it? 16? 17? What was Battleground? Somewhere around there. 16 or 17-ish. So good. I'm
17.
dying. 17! 17! I'm dying. I want more. Okay, so I'm getting ready for bed. So, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that jazz, and I'll see you guys in the next video.